Instacart shoppers know groceries. They know that you can't make guacamole with rock-hard avocados. They know how to quickly find those peanut butter pretzels you can never find. And they keep you in the know by giving you updates about your order along the way. Let Instacart shoppers help take shopping off your plate so you can get time and energy back for what really matters. Visit instacart.com or download the app to get free delivery on your first 3 orders. Offer valid for a limited time. Minimum order $10. Additional terms apply. Instacart. Add life to cart.
Hi, this is Ben, Sam and Harry from the Late Breaking F1 podcast, and you can follow this year's Formula One season with us on the Sports Social Podcast Network.
We're here every single week to bring you race previews, reviews and our opinions on everything from the F1 world, with plenty of fun along the way.
Listen to the Late Breaking F1 podcast now, wherever you get your podcasts.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of Stat Me Up for Anfield Index. Ladies and gents, dear God, the stats look different at 96 minutes at the City Ground, didn't they? But come 98, 99, 2017, if you believe Nottingham Forest fans, whatever minute you want to call it, Darwin Núñez comes to the rescue for the Reds, doesn't he? And here we are, still top of the table. And we've got many things to talk through, ladies and gents. I'm your normal host, Dave Davis, coming to you from a bloody cold, actually, Edinburgh. It looks quite nice, but that is absolute lies. Here, as ever, joined by the renowned and the respected, the Hungarian hipster, the stat man himself, Ben Bocksak. Ben, how are we?
Yeah, I'm good as well. I'm coming from equally as cold Wales, so it doesn't get better down south either.
Nah, all this talk of like sun anywhere or warming up is absolute lies. And Ben, we're going to get our money's worth from you today. We've got Forest stats, we've got players or teams of the years, we've got Sparta, Prague and Europa to put to you. We've got City at Anfield on Sunday. Again, and I don't really care if anyone's sick of me saying this because it's brilliant to be involved. It is another massive week for Liverpool. Christ, is it almighty. So here we go. I mean, Ben, let's rewind. Saturday. Dear God, I wish they wouldn't shave years off our life when they're doing this type of thing, but a win is a win. Honest thoughts on the overall game, being completely honest?
I mean, it's what we expected. We spoke about last week how I'm expecting Forest to just sit back and give us the ball, and that is what we got. I think we had over 70% possession. I think what I was surprised by, though, is we did create quite a few good enough chances to win the game. We'll talk a little bit about McAllister, but he created 6 chances just by himself. So there were opportunities for Liverpool to actually win the game before the 99th minute. But I think a couple of times Liverpool just didn't take those chances, didn't take the opportunities. I mean, it didn't help that Forest pretty much had maybe 4 or 5 players in their own penalty area all time. So it was difficult to find those openings. But, Bobby Clark making his first start, he had a couple of chances, very unlucky with, I think, one of them that got deflected. And then the other one was a great shot from, I think, just inside the penalty area. If he hit that a little bit lower, then, that could have been a lot more comfortable for Liverpool. But, I thought Clark himself, he showed himself about. I thought he put in a pretty good performance on his debut. Got that nutmeg with his first touch, or one of his first touches. He looked very confident.
Yeah, I mean, the crazy thing is, you're right. We said about this last week. We said will take a win by any means and no injuries. And yeah, it's not great for the nerves, but that's exactly what they delivered. And as you mentioned there with some of the personnel, what are we expecting too much when the starting midfield is Alexis McAllister, Joe Gomez in the 6, and a deputy Bobby Clark? Do you know what I mean? There's got to be some realism around the expectations, but they get the job done, and that was all you can ask. I mean, even despite that, Ben, there's got to be stats galore for some of those players. And I think we've got to go to the man that you mentioned, most people's man of the match, to be fair, in Alexis McAllister. This guy is pretty special at the moment, isn't he?
Yeah, I thought he was very good. I think, like I mentioned, he created 6 chances, which was the highest in the game. I thought he was just so active throughout it, and the numbers reflect that as well. 87 touches, completed 8 passes into the final third. I mean, yes, as we said, Forest allowed Liverpool to have a lot of possession, but that almost hurt them in the end, because McAllister was really thriving at having that possession and being able to create chances. And I really think now we are seeing his sort of best version in a Liverpool shirt, playing a little bit further forward, just like he did at Brighton. And again, the numbers reflect that, just even in terms of goal contributions, he's got 4 goal contributions in his last 3 Premier League games. The assist was brilliant to Darwin Núñez. I think you got to highlight Endo's role in the goal as well to win the ball back from Avaniyi. But to get that inch perfect pass, the way he sort of dips it into the penalty area, it was straight onto Núñez's head. I think in the 98th minute, 99th minute, whatever you want to call it, to do that, it is special. And I was really impressed by him, and I've been impressed by him the last sort of few weeks now. I feel like every game we sort of highlight him as one who stood out in the Premier League at least.
Yeah, it seems crazy to rewind almost when you think about it, to the start of the season. There were question marks asked about him at the 6, is he settling, all these types of things, to what he's turning on now is just unreal. And speaking of unreal, I think Darwin Núñez was on the pitch for about half an hour. He hardly seemed to touch it, in all honesty, Ben, but when he did, something was happening, whatever it was, and we know what is pretty much his last touch of the game was. What do Núñez's stats say from Forest?
Well, like you said, he wasn't very active in the half an hour, but he did get a few shots off. Obviously, I was looking at sort of his more broader stats for the season, and this was his 6th match-winning goal for Liverpool. So a match-winning goal, according to the stats, is when a player scores to help the team take the lead. And he's now had 6 of those. If you look at the second most for the metric for Liverpool, it's Mohamed Salah with 3. Diego Jota, we always seem to point out as, the one who wins games for Liverpool and gets points for Liverpool. He's only got 2, so Núñez has triple of that this season. Obviously double that of Salah as well. So pretty impressive stuff. Even in the Premier League, he's got 5 match-winning goals. So that's the highest in the league, joint with Haaland and Watkins. And if you add up those 5 goals, that equates to 15 points. I think roughly it's just under 24% of Liverpool's total points tally for the season. So I think what I wanted to highlight as well with Núñez is, if you look at the other match-winning goals, for example, for Haaland or Watkins, I think the latest they came was Watkins in the 85th minute. He scored a match winner. Haaland was around the 60-minute mark. I mean, I wouldn't really call those match winners, but, according to the stats. If you look at Núñez's, he's got 2 now in stoppage time. One against Newcastle in the 93rd minute, and then now in the 99th minute. So he's getting those goals until the last minute. And I think that's kind of important as well for a striker, because, that's when really all the chips are down and the team is desperate and that's when you need a number 9 to get a goal, and that's what Darwin Núñez does.
Insane. Yeah, like you said, to have double Mo, treble Jota, you think, like you say, you think of those big games like Newcastle as well as this one at the weekend. Even his assists, you think of as well. He's getting assists late on. We can think of many, even like Fulham, the Carabao. Darwin Núñez just makes things happen late on in the game. He is having an unreal season. I mean, stats-wise, any other sort of players or team stats you think it's worth calling out from Saturday's victory at all?
I think Conor Bradley kind of went under the radar. I did a post for Anfield Index after the game, but he won the most duels on the pitch. The most duels for Liverpool. That was 10. Won the most tackles, 4 out of 5 tackles won, which is pretty impressive. He also made the most recoveries for Liverpool, 2 key passes. I mean, that's a pretty solid performance for a right back. And I think it's a testament to his quality that we've almost come to expect it from him. Like, we're not surprised at all. There was no one tweeting or posting about Conor Bradley's performance, but he was very solid and very good again, and I think he deserves a mention. And obviously Kelleher as well. Again, the stats say he accumulated over 1 XG against him. I mean, I don't know if I think the 1-on-1 did count as part of the XG, but I don't know if that was offside or not. Regardless, it was a great save from him to do that. And I think the fact that he kept 3 clean sheets now in a row when he's faced over 5 XG against him is pretty remarkable. And I think it's almost Alisson-like, and I think he's got to be up there as one of Liverpool's best players in this sort of week, in this period where we've got 4 wins and kept ourselves in the race for the quadruple.
Purchase new wiper blades from O'Reilly Auto Parts today and we'll install them for free. See better and drive safer with O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Crazy. Yeah, absolutely, you're right. Think of Kelleher says, it seems insane if you think of the chances we've given up as well, that we have 3 clean sheets in a row. And you're probably right about Conor Bradley. There's almost him, Jarell Quansah. We just expect them to have great possession stats, be good on that. We've almost just taken it already for granted, despite the fact this is still their first season or full season for the Reds. Absolutely insane. But yeah, what a weekend. 3 points and we roll on. And in the bigger picture, it was interesting because I've seen quite a few posts, Ben, now. People are starting to talk, aren't they, about who are the player of the year contenders, who would be in their team of the year type of thing. Because we are getting towards the business end. So I get it. There's hype. It builds a picture, doesn't it? A story. I totally understand that. I understand why people are doing it as well. If you look at the stats for our lads against naturally other people in the league and how they're doing, have we got real contenders for player or team of the year, would you say?
I mean, it's difficult. There's still a lot of games left until the end of the season. Obviously, Mohamed Salah is always up there. Played in a while. I think we had a conversation at the start of the season and I said Darwin Núñez. I think based on the numbers, the fact that he has scored so many match-winning goals, the fact that he is averaging a goal contribution every 87 minutes for Liverpool in all competition, he's got to be in that conversation. I think as well, sort of, you asked me to look at how many late winners in each time Liverpool have had in the Premier League era, and Núñez actually has obviously 2 this season. He's got 2 away from home, which is the most out of any player in the sort of Premier League era. In total, before Jurgen Klopp arrived, Liverpool away from home had 2 sort of 90-plus minute winners. One was Robbie Fowler against Arsenal in 1995, and the other one was Yossi Benayoun against Fulham in 2009 when we were going for the title against Man United.
Yeah.
I still remember that goal. It was a good little finish.
Yeah, top corner.
Yeah, and obviously now on the clock, we've had Origi, Mane, and Nunez as well. I think Nunez is now... Yeah, Nunez has more or got stoppage time goals away from home. I think Origi still leads in terms of, if you add the Anfield games into everything. But Nunez now has the most away from home. And in total, there's now been four wins away from home under Jurgen Klopp, where there's been a stoppage time winner. So that's double of, Liverpool's total in Premier League history before that. And that's pretty special, I think, as well.
God, yeah. It's like you say, especially Darwin Núñez. It doesn't suit the narrative because they love to focus, especially on that when he went through a bit of a barren run. And I get that, but it's strange how they bring it up, especially the fact when you just look at the pure hard stats, the impact he's had this season, especially 2024, since the turn of the year. He has been sensational. But even before then, as you said, the goals, the big moments that have got points, one match and those types of things. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we mentioned Núñez as a contender there. We said Mo Salah's just always going to be in there. You're kind of more surprised if he's not. And this is even having 2 months off, technically, from the season. VVD is going to be in there as well for obvious reasons. He's going to be a contender for both. That goes without saying. Any midfielders you can make a case from when you looked at the stats at all?
Are you that person who has everything? The coolest merch and those must-have fan threads? Well, over at our Anfield Index shop, we've gone that extra mile when it comes to pimping up your Liverpool collection. From our popular range of bespoke design t-shirts, sweaters, hoodies and hats, to our signature edition mugs, prints and coasters, all provided with fast worldwide shipping. We have something for every red. We also stock official LFC merchandise and are licensed with the Premier League and UEFA to sell official iron-on shirt badges and sleeve patches. As a listener to this podcast, you can get 10% off everything with coupon code AIPRO10. Just head over to AnfieldIndex.shop or find us on Etsy by searching for Anfield Index.
I mean, my heart says Endo, but I think it's probably too cool for that. Obviously, I think McAllister, because he had that dip at the start of the season, or wasn't as good as he is now, maybe it's too soon for him to be involved in that conversation. But if he continues in this form and puts in similar performances over the last sort of 10, 15 games or however long we have left, he's got to be in that conversation. Maybe not for player of the season for Liverpool, because there are so many players, I think, right now performing at a high level, so it's difficult to be in that conversation. But if we're looking at sort of Premier League Team of the Year, if he continues in this form, like he's got to be up there in the conversation, because I can't see any midfielders right now who are in as good form as he is over the last sort of 5-6 games ever since he moved a little bit further up the pitch. He's been immense, and if he continues, then I think he's got to be in that conversation.
Crazy, isn't it? It's like you say, you're absolutely right. There's still a long way to go. Konate's got to be in the conversation at centre-back. Trent's been unbelievable this season, but an injury, so that type of thing comes into play. It does feel like the end to the season is going to play a big definition, isn't it, in the narrative and who makes that. But in a great way, and I mean in a great way, there's a lot of Liverpool players in the potential conversation, which all we can ask at this stage. And some of those players, this is hard to guess a little bit at the moment, may, and I'm saying may because we don't know, be lining up against Sparta Prague, might they, on Thursday? It's a strange week, this one. It's the first leg, as you know, Ben. There's almost one eye on City. I know Jurgen Klopp always says one game at a time, but it's hard to believe there's not one eye a little bit on Manchester City for this one. So with that in mind, and based on what we know at the moment, How are you thinking we'll line up for this one based on what we know at this current time?
I think we'll go strong. I think even with City in mind, I mean, Sparta Prague is quite a difficult opponent, I think, especially away from home. Like, they've caused problems in their own ground to other teams. They've beaten Real Betis this season. They got a huge result against Galatasaray in the last round as well. They're a good side, a good attacking side who I think will go at Liverpool, but they're also pretty good defensively as well. So in the Czech league, they've conceded 15 goals, which is the fewest in the league. They've also scored 55, which is the highest in the league.
Wow. Yeah.
But obviously, the quality of the Czech league is not the same as other. It's nothing compared to the Premier League. However, I think even in the Europa League, they've scored goals. They've given tough games to high quality opposition. Not the level of Liverpool, but still pretty strong opponents. Like, I think that what I like about them is that they'll always go for it. So they don't tend to play 0-0s. They played a 0-0 draw with Rangers earlier in the season, but most of the time it's like a 3-2. They've had 2 3-2s now in the Europa League. They've had a couple of 4-1s, 3-1s, results like that. So they'll try to score goals. Obviously, with this being Liverpool, I wonder, do they change their setup and do they try to go for a more defensive approach? But I think given that they've got a lot of good offensive players, I don't think they will change their attitude. I think they will try to play football, and that could work in Liverpool's favour. But still, I think with that, I'd go pretty strong, especially because we have Endo, who wasn't really overexerted against Nottingham Forest. Nunez the same, Soboslai, like they played around half an hour in that game. So I would say for me they all go into the starting 11 if they are fit, and if the fitness staff sees that there is no risk for them to be involved in this, which you assume since they were playing it in the Forest game. That's the case. So I would say they'd start, maybe give them 60 minutes. Just to get them more match sharp, more ready for that City game. They're, for me, definite starters. I think the players that I would probably rest is someone like Diaz and Elliott, who've played a lot of minutes. The tricky thing with them is, like, there's not a lot of options up top, even if Nunez comes in. For me, Gakpo starts because I think he needs a bit of confidence before City, and maybe this could be an opportunity for him to get that confidence. And then, it's a difficult choice up top. Do you go with Kate Gordon? Potentially, he's an option who, he's done well recently, and obviously he's a big talent, but still coming back from that serious injury, still getting used to playing competitive football. I thought he showed flashes in the Europa League when he did make that start, but is he ready for such a hostile atmosphere? It's going to be a real sort of, I don't know, I think it's going to be a very intimidating atmosphere for Liverpool to go to, and their players, this is going to be like their game for them to show themselves. I do worry about putting someone like Gordon in there who isn't, I don't think he has quite found his confidence yet, even at academy level. On the other hand, you have Jadon Dance, who is confidence, but I think he almost has too much exuberance right now on the pitch, and we saw that almost got him in a little bit of trouble clashing with the goalkeeper. So I'm an advocate for him to start, but I don't know if Jurgen Klopp is going to give him that start. I think it would be an interesting sort of front three with Nunez potentially on the left, Dan's in the middle, Gakpo on the right. But with that front three as well, the good thing is, like, all of them can play pretty much in every other position. Like, Dan's has played on the wing, Nunes and Gakpo can obviously play centrally as well. So it could be an interesting sort of lineup. And I think...
Hello, I'm here to annoy you. I'm here to annoy you into listening to more of me and more of others on EPL Index. We don't just have the Anfield Index stuff. We've got EPL Index as well, which covers the entirety of the Premier League. And we have 3 podcasts and a whole bunch of really good writing on EPLindex.com. The podcasts are my own Two-Footed podcast, which is every day at 4 p.m., Monday through Friday, covering the whole league. We have A Tad Predictable, hosted by Tadiwa. You know Tadiwa, he does Anfield Index. He presents A Tad Predictable before every Premier League match week. And then Kevin DeVries and his crew on the EPL Roundtable, they're every week after the Premier League match week. So make sure you listen to everything we're doing on EPL Index and follow us there on Twitter at EPL Index. Thank you. Bye-bye.
I've seen a lot of people put Harvey Elliott in their starting 11s for this one. I think not. I think give him a rest, like he's due a rest. He can't play every game. And I think for that City game, given that Liverpool still have a few injuries, he might come in handy. And I think he's been very important to Liverpool. So for me, I wouldn't risk him in this game. I'd maybe bring him on with half an hour to go. And then at the back, obviously, I think VVD probably can miss this one out. Like we mentioned, we've got Kwanzaa now, who I think is like a senior player. You have no qualms putting him in this game. I think what will be interesting is, does Konate start, or does our new number 6 go back into his position at centre-back? There's obviously the option of Bradley potentially missing out because he's played a lot of games and a lot of minutes as well. So Gomez could even fill in at right back. So there's a few options there. But I think one certainty is we'll probably have Tsimikas coming in and playing, coming in for Andy Robertson and playing the left back role. But yeah, I think the way I would see it for me is Kelleher in goal. I'd keep Bradley at right back. I think Konate is more injury prone, so I'd rest him for this one. I'd bring Kwanzaa and Gomez in at centre back, Tsimikas, Endo in midfield, Soboslai starting alongside him, and I think one of McConnell or Clark starting. And then up top, I'd say go with the front 3 that I mentioned, Danz, Nunez and Gakpo, but I have a feeling Klopp may not be so I have a feeling he won't necessarily risk playing youngsters, that many youngsters in this one, just because of this being a difficult away game. And I think with these Europa League fixtures, the away game is so much more important than the home game. The home game is where I think you can sort of rest players and use academy players, and the away game is where you can get a result and then bring that back to Anfield. And at Anfield, like, there's going to be a supportive crowd behind the players, and the players will have that confidence. And we saw that at Southampton as well, with the way Dans and Kumas played. They've had that sort of extra confidence because of the crowd, and I think that helps a lot. So the away game, I think Klopp won't be as sort of over-exuberant with his academy players.
Will be interesting to see. Yeah, like you said, does he trust them away? The City on the horizon. I think you must make the point that with City in mind, the players we want to see in that City lineup are going to need some minutes, aren't they, as well? And how that manages. I think the one thing we do not doubt is there will be 5 subs used by Liverpool in this game and a full rotation by Jurgen Klopp. I mean, I'm really trying to cast my mind back on this, Ben. The last time we were in these Europa League knockouts, this last 16, it feels like, I'm generally trying to remember, an absolute eternity ago in one way. What stats have we got when Liverpool do get to these type of competitions, the Europa League especially in the knockout? What do the stats tell us?
Well, we've only ever been in it once under Klopp, and we got to the final in that one.
Yeah.
Obviously, this sort of Europa League system seems to change a lot.
Yeah.
Before there was a round of 32, which has changed to a sort of preliminary round where the teams like us who finish top of the group don't have to go through the qualifying process and automatically get to a round of 16. That wasn't always the case. But when I think in the 2015-16 season, we actually had to play Augsburg from Germany.
Wow.
In the 32. That was a strong Bundesliga side. Then we played Man United, Villarreal in the quarterfinals, Borussia Dortmund in the semis. So that was quite a tough round. Like if you look at those teams, they're all teams who normally get to the Champions League. So we haven't really faced a Sparta Prague sort of team under Jurgen Klopp in these knockout rounds anyway. And obviously Champions League as well. It's another level where you don't kind of get, with all respect to Sparta Prague, you don't kind of get that kind of opponent in the Champions League knockout round. But yeah, before Klopp, the last time we were there was in 2012, 2013, and it was kind of the reason why you don't remember is because quite a forgetful campaign. Like we actually lost in the round of 32 to Zenit, and I guarantee most people listening will not remember that game or anything that happened because that was just a forgetful season and a forgetful campaign. And then before that, we actually played Sparta Prague in the 2010-11 season in the round of 32. And it's kind of a struggle, actually. We drew 0-0 in Sparta Prague. Then we brought the game back to Anfield, and we had to wait until the 86th minute for a winner. Dirk Kuyt got it. So we went through that one, but then we lost to Braga 1-0 on aggregate in the round of 16. Again, I'm sure not a lot of people will remember these games because they are very sort of forgettable, really.
Yeah.
The last time we sort of...
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac, and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes, and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
Before Klopp, anyway, we sort of made a real go at the Europa League was in the 2009-10 season. Another era under Benitez. The Champions League group stages didn't work out for us then. We didn't get through. We finished third behind, I think, Fiorentina and Lyon. But then we did all right in the Europa League and we got to the semi-finals and then lost to Atletico Madrid, who I think ended up winning it. So wasn't the worst thing. I think that year we beat Lille in the round of 16, 3-1 on aggregate. Gerrard got a goal and Torres got a double, of course. But yeah, and then before that, it was called a completely different competition and it had a completely different system.
Of course.
With the UEFA Cup, that's what it was called. And the last time we were in that was in 2002 and 2003. So yeah, it's had a lot of changes in the past in terms of the structure and the system. So we don't have that much experience in the round of 16. But I think overall, if we have a competent manager and not Brendan Rodgers, we tend to go through these rounds in European competitions because that's what Liverpool do, and the power of Anfield helps a lot. And I feel pretty confident about this one.
Yeah, as Melvin might. And like you say, if there's one thing Brendan Rodgers couldn't navigate, it's European ties. And it was great to hear some old names. It was great to hear some old teams, players, ones we come across before. Let's hope we still remember Sparta Prague as fondly by Thursday night or the close of Thursday night as well. And we're going to have to talk about it now, Ben, because we danced around it all the way to the episode. I mean, this is the one, isn't it? City, Anfield, Sunday, 3:45 kickoff. Not quite sure why the police feels moving it forward an extra 45 minutes makes any real difference in the world, but hey-ho, there we are. I mean, this kind of hypes itself. It's the perfect narrative for all your big TV companies. Maybe a simple question to start with. I don't know if it's a simple answer. Would you take a point right now if you could just shake hands on it?
I told you at the start of the podcast, I said no, I wouldn't. I think you might not agree with me, but I think, I just think if you want to win the league, you got to beat Man City at home. I don't care that City are playing Arsenal in the next round or in the next round of matches. I think you have to. You just have to. You can't rely on other teams. You've got to keep things in your hands, and the only way you do that is if you win this game. Because if it's a draw, Arsenal can still get level on points with us, and I think they'll be ahead on goal difference right now. Well, we're speaking before they play Sheffield, so I think they will be ahead by the time they play Sheffield. So I think you got to win this game. We've seen far too many times where we've sort of rued not getting a result at City or not getting those 3 points elsewhere. And for me, I know like we are wounded right now. We have a lot of key players missing. We still don't know if Mohamed Salah is going to feature, but it's the power of Anfield. We've been in worse situations before. We've faced better teams before, and we've beaten them. I know Klopp probably doesn't want to mention Barcelona again in the space of a fortnight, but it is a sort of Barcelona situation probably again where there's a lot of key players missing, but you just got to pull through and get a result. And I think even with the players missing, Liverpool have enough to get a result. And I don't know, I'm just confident. I think not confident, but I just think I just wouldn't take a draw.
Which is absolutely fair enough. And listen, we'd all love 3 points. It would just make a sensational weekend as well as a statement at the same time. I mean, for the final thing I'm going to ask you, stat-wise, it always feels like we do okay against City at home. Do the stats bear that out?
Yeah. I mean, I was looking at recent form. So we haven't actually beaten City in our last 3 games, but they were all away from home. So this doesn't really count. The last 4 games at Anfield, we've won 2, drawn 1 and lost 1. The defeat was in the season when there was no fans. So
yeah, we don't acknowledge that one, do we? Yeah.
And I think the draw as well was with a sort of limited people in the crowd, limited attendance at Anfield. So we can kind of discard that. But before that, you have to go back to like 2003 to find a game where Man City actually won at Anfield. They've never done in the Premier League. That is, they've never done that.
Crazy.
With fans in attendance anyway under Guardiola. His record at Anfield is 4 defeats, 2 draws, and 1 win, which again we don't count because it wasn't fans. Without fans. So overall, I mean, the stats seem to back it up. Like we should be Man City on paper anyway, given these results. The 4 defeats with Guardiola is pretty damning. The last one came last season when arguably we had a worse side, and we still managed to get a 1-0 victory with Mohamed Salah scoring.
Right.
You know, they were arguably better as well. I mean, that was their season that they won the treble, and they were really good, to be fair to them. So we managed to beat them even then. They're, I would say, a little bit worse right now. We're better, even with the amount of players missing injured. You have to say it. Going into this, we might even be favourites, and if you are the favourites, you got to win.
Yeah. I'm trying not to be greedy because 3 points would be immense, and even with injuries, you still look at it and think we can put out a really strong team, no doubts about it. Like you mentioned the name, if Mo Salah can be fit for this one, even if he could just get any minutes on Thursday and be ready, that's what we're all hoping for, and no doubt will be the first question to Jurgen Klopp in his press conference. But feels for a while, doesn't it, Ben? All roads have led to this game, it seems, and they've gone neck and neck. They've, both teams have dug out wins at times, probably us more so than them because of the injury crisis. But the Sunday shootout, here we are. Probably the very final question I'll ask you then. If you had to put a prediction in, what are you leaning towards for Sunday?
Well, that is difficult. I think there's going to be goals. I think that there's only ever been like 1-0 draw at Anfield, and that was in 2021 when we had a pretty awful season that season. I think that was the season when nothing sort of seemed to go right, or might have been the season when we were fighting for a quadruple. Actually, I don't remember, but regardless, I normally these games don't bring 0-0 score lines. So I'm going with, I reckon, 3-2 to Liverpool. I reckon Salah will be fit, so he'll get one, maybe from a penalty, so just to make us nervous. I reckon Nunez will score, and do you know what? I'll go with Dominic Szoboszlai scoring a sort of Steven Gerrard-esque. You know that? Do you remember that volley Gerrard scored against City? That was at the Etihad. I'm going for one of those. I reckon Szoboszlai will get one of those at Anfield in front of the Kop.
Do you know what? I would take it any way it comes if it's a win, even a Joe Gomez special or something like that. But ladies and gents, it's a big week, isn't it? There's huge games. We're waiting on massive injury news. All roads point to Sunday. However, there is a little speed bump in the form of Sparta Prague on Thursday before we get there, as this campaign just rumbles on and we hit the business end of the season. So all it really leaves me to say as ever is, Ben, thanks for the stats, thanks for the time, thanks for the insight. Much appreciated, pal.
A pleasure as always.
Good stuff. And ladies and gents, that was another Stat Me Up Anfield Index.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at anfieldindex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.
Sports Social Podcast Network.